Welcome to Brain Wrestling. My name is Derek Christopher. Of course, I'm here with the Shields to my Yarnell, the Lenin to my Stalin, the Schwartz to my. Can we say that? We can say Schwarzenegger.
Certainly. I don't know what the hell you're talking about,
I,
though.
I don't know if we can separate it, but please welcome Walter Jacobson. Walter, now I know you're a very spiritual person,
Yes,
and of course, you know I'm a very spiritual person.
I've heard that.
So if you will just accommodate me here for a
All
second, I
right,
would
go.
like to start this off with some spiritual prayers.
الله أكبر الله
Now,
أكبر
you may be wondering what that's all
أشهد
about.
أن لا
I feel better.
Do you feel better? I feel, we'll do that four more times
إله
today,
Okay, what
if
is
you
that
don't
all about?
if you don't mind. So Minneapolis has become the first major city in the US to broadcast Islamic prayers 5 times per day, and they're bypassing the noise ordinance that was normally in effect to accommodate the Muslim people so they can do their prayers 5 times a day. Any hour, you can do it in the morning, you can broadcast it publicly, you can do it late at night, doesn't matter what your neighbors think. And I'm kind of all places, Minneapolis, which of course is, Wall's territory. But what's your feeling on this? That they're the first major U.S. city to allow this?
Yeah, I feel that it's not appropriate for these cities, these states to do like outrageous things, without actually getting a referendum from the people. I mean, they were elected to represent the people. Now, I
Yeah.
understand the Muslims have certain desires and to practice their religion, but all religions do. And if I wanted to go out there and start like chanting, some kind of religious or spiritual chant at 2 in the morning and be banging gongs, they'd be taking me away for.
Well, what I don't understand is there is a noise ordinance that
Yeah.
applies to all religions equally and evenly. So why do you take only one religion? It doesn't matter that it's Islam. I mean, that's kind of irrelevant to the story. What matters is that you're giving special treatment to one religion over the others. And
Well,
now you're going to have to accommodate anybody and everybody else if they come and they say something.
Well, I don't think they necessarily will have to treat everybody equally who may come to them for this. That's the whole point. This state in particular, this is emblematic of this state. They break the rules. They the Waltz let Minneapolis burn for 3 days. They let people out who were like destroying property and injuring people. This city is twisted, and they have their priorities in all the wrong places, and we can't do anything about it, and it will spread. Just like, did you see that the immigrants, that illegal immigrants from like Venezuela, these gangs have taken over 3 apartment complexes in 3 different cities, and
Yeah.
this, what the hell?
These are kind of white cities. These are known as very white Americana cities. And so why do you think that the Venezuelans, the Muslims, they're coming to these cities of all places?
Because those are the cities that have demonstrated, I think, those they have demonstrated all the laxness, the looseness, that they are that they defund the police, so they don't have to worry about police showing up because and they'll probably be let out of jail if they are arrested because there's no bail, and they'll be repeat. So they know that this is a city to go to where these people are insane, and the problem is this progressive left, these Soros-backed prosecutors, etc., are in these certain cities and doing all sorts of reckless, dangerous things without the permission of the people who let them.
So you think they're cherry picking these cities in particular?
Yeah, I think it's very possible that they recognize that these are the cities that will allow you to do shit to them and won't do much about it.
And what's their end game? So, a bunch of Venezuelans go into an apartment complex in Denver, Colorado. What's their end game? What are they?
End game is making a lot of money, child trafficking, drug trafficking, committing crimes, all sorts of stuff. So now they got a headquarters. Fantastic.
So do you think it's going to start spreading? I mean,
absolutely.
Are we going to put a
has.
stop to it?
No, you know how it's going to stop?
How's it going to stop?
The big T, the orange man, okay? Harris is not going to do shit.
He's not going to do shit either. Let's
Well,
be
maybe
honest.
he won't, but he's more likely to send in like the whatever than
Okay, I'll give you that. I will give you that.
yeah, but Kamala and the other guy and the jerk
Kamala.
and Kamala and the jerk who is actually the governor of Minneapolis now, who's overseeing all this insanity. He's now going to theoretically be the vice president, one heartbeat away from being the biggest idiot in chief. Unbelievable.
But you know what's amazing to me is that story about the Minneapolis City Council passing that resolution, the only news organization that picked that story up was NPR. I have not seen it broadcast anywhere else. And that, to me, seems like a big story.
Absolutely, which also speaks to the problem with the Democratic Party. They don't want you to know about this sort of behavior, and the mainstream media, which censors anything that will make Kamala look bad, that will make Waltz look bad.
But
It's
NPR
censorship.
has historically been known as a very leftist organization.
I agree. I agree.
So why are they
that,
doing it?
I find that shocking. Maybe someone made a mistake. Maybe they'll be fired soon.
They're going to fire that guy next.
Oh, absolutely. That was reckless.
And then speaking of reckless,
Reporting the news is reckless.
well, it used to be that you could turn on the news and it wouldn't be about opinion. It would just be the facts. And that's long gone. I mean, I don't know a single news organization today, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, that actually just reports facts anymore.
Oh, and the worst part of it is that it's what they do report is a twisting of the truth. They will take quotes from the other side out of context.
Yeah.
They will take clips, video clips that only say one thing, and because you don't see the rest of the speech, you're not hearing the whole context. So both sides are doing this sort of manipulation in order to influence the election, and all it involves is propaganda, brainwashing. Who has the better brainwashing machine is going to decide who wins, you know?
And then let's get into this thing with Colt Gray. This is this 14-year-old maniac that killed 4 people, 2 students, 2 teachers. Now his dad is being charged with second-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter. The FBI this kid was on the FBI's radar for a year. They went to go visit him. They talked to him. They had anonymous tips that this kid was talking about shooting up schools. They talked to him. They talked to his dad. His dad is just clueless about what's going on. And then, even after all this was done, the dad goes out and buys this fucking little maniac a gun.
What's your point about the FBI knowing for a year?
My point of it isn't so much the FBI. My point is that you always hear these stories whenever this happens. They go, oh, little Colty was so lovely and we would have never guessed this about him. And he was so kind-hearted and he helped little, Miss McNamara down the street. Bullshit. These kids are psychos. And the fact that they're starting to charge the parents now, I think, is the way we have to go, because the parents knew their child was a psycho. And you have to do what's right for everybody. And if you think your kid is a little fucking psycho, you don't go buy him a gun.
Oh, absolutely. But this does go back to, you just said that the FBI knew for a year that this kid was on their watch list for a year, and they didn't do anything about it. So that, speaks. That's a big deal. And you got to ask yourself why. Why didn't the FBI try to stop this kid before it happened?
Well, what do you do? So you go talk to the kid, you talk to the parents. He's on the radar. You can't rely on the government to raise your children. It's like the fact that this father did absolutely nothing. The mother did nothing. Apparently, the mother was a mess too. She was arrested for some sort of domestic abuse, and they found fentanyl on her. And then this father was, you could hear on the recordings that the FBI made, the father was a complete loser too. At what point? And in the schools, the schools knew that this guy was.
Okay, so I'm wondering if maybe there's some kind of weird conspiracy amongst these people. The anti-gun lobby. Let's have another trans person shoot up people, and then we'll have to.
This kid wasn't trans
about guns. What?
This kid wasn't trans.
Oh, he wasn't? Okay, that's good. I heard he was. But whether he was or wasn't doesn't matter. What I'm saying is that, to some degree, every time there's some maniac who shoots up a place, then the whole gun lobby comes out about take away the guns, take away the guns. So maybe they want these things to happen.
Well, I was waiting for them for MAGA to start saying, well, this is Antifa, this is BLM, it's a false flag, and this is all because they want to bring attention to the guns and take it away from Kamala. It's all bullshit. You know what it is? It's a psycho kid with a psycho dad, and that's all it is. And because we used to actually pay attention to what our neighbors did and what our fellow students did, and we would actually report it and we could stop it, but they don't do that anymore today. Everybody just they just keep to themselves, and it's like we're gonna pretend that nothing is going on. That little Johnny is not a psycho.
Yeah, it's severe, and I think this is a good plan. It's to basically to charge the parents, and eventually, theoretically, the other parents will get the idea that if we got guns in the house and we got kids in the house, we better be pretty careful.
But I don't understand. I mean, you have a grown daughter. When she was 14, did you pay attention to what she was doing, who she was with, where she was going?
Oh, absolutely. We were on her case every minute.
Yeah. And my parents were the same. I mean, they knew exactly who my friends were, what I was doing. They talked to the teachers, they talked to the school. And the thing is, the schools now are afraid to say anything because the parents come out, they start screaming at them, they start yelling at them. The parents, they threaten that we're going to sue them. And so everybody's afraid to say anything because it's so litigious and everybody's so afraid. And you know what? You're now afraid of kids kicking your ass. Remember that horrible video where the teacher went out for a break and the guy followed her and killed her in the bathroom and acted like nothing happened?
Yeah, everything's out of control, and it didn't help with the schools, and the COVID lockdowns and putting the kids at home in front of TV sets for a year and a half or whatever it was. So the schools have a bad, and all the trans stuff they're hiding from parents. So it's really complicated.
Well, as a psychiatrist, why do you think that the pandemic had such a negative effect? So, I mean, you were at home, but you still had access to your social media. And, kids today don't socialize like they used to anyway. So I'm not sure what the big difference was that the pandemic just made everybody go insane.
Well, I think it was being indoors, a whole lot more than they needed to be, and being isolated more, even though they have the social internet interactions, not being able to visit friends, family, go out and do stuff, go to a movie or whatever. Yeah. I mean, I think that sort of social isolation, even though you still had the social media, is a big problem. And remember, the social media is not like something that brings delight to a lot of people. To a lot of people, it brings pain and suffering and sadness and loneliness, alienation,
and that's anger. This show alone.
Exactly.
People are such loners. And so you would think that might help people, that they don't have to deal with other people. But, bullying, they're trying to say that this kid was bullied. And I don't know how much that feeds into it. I mean, I think a lot of kids, most kids are bullied at some point in their life. That's where you learn to suck it up and you learn to get a little tougher. And you either learn to fight, or you learn to be funny, or you learn to
do what I do, fight or flight.
Yeah, well, my friend would always say, live to fight and run away, live to fight another day.
Absolutely. But you're absolutely right. Everybody growing up is bullied in one way or another, physically being pushed or shoved or humiliated or shamed or laughed at or ridiculed. It's happened to everybody. Even the coolest kids on the block got some form of ridicule or bullying or whatever. It's just part of growing up. And this whole idea of that explains why he shot a whole bunch of people. No, it doesn't. And and if the parents were around, like you were talking about, then when the kid comes home from school saying, "Oh, I was bullied," they would have a discussion with the kid and explain it's not about you. They have problems. You're a good kid. You don't have to worry about it. There are good people in the world. Don't listen. Don't be worried about these people doing that crap.
But you know what? That's the thing, that parents don't actually parent anymore. They give the kid an iPhone, they give the kid an iPad, and that becomes the kid's best friend. Because
they need to do that. They need to do that because the parents have to sit in their room and watch the dirty movies on TV. Come on.
Is that what my parents were doing?
Not my parents, but
I don't remember my parents doing that either.
No, but if you look at the trend of where a lot of movies are going, there's a lot. They're moving into a lot of sexual stuff, darkness stuff, a lot of weird. The world is becoming weirder and stranger and more perverse, in my opinion. And movies are now reflecting that. And people are more absorbed with their Pornhub than ever before.
But they've always said that. They've always tried to blame movies and TV shows and video games.
I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying that's what's happening.
It's a contributing factor?
I'm just seeing it. I think we're seeing more and more of a decline into the cesspool. Remember, we're not in Bedford Falls anymore.
Yeah.
You know what that reference is? It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes.
Right. Bedford Falls, where, that the people were like decent to each other and respectful and kind, and then Potter's Field was like ugly and selfish and greedy.
Right.
Yeah, we're in Potter's Field now, and it's not going away.
And it's not going to come back either. Bedford Falls ain't coming back.
No, it's over. Because that has been a purposeful thing and part of the whole thing to de-emphasize God in people's lives is all part of the perverse downhill slide, I think.
Well, it used to be that you watched after your neighbor, you watched after the people around you, the people that you cared for. You had people over, you had conversations. And now you just don't do it anymore. Everything is always an alert, and everything is breaking news, and everything is designed to scare the shit out of people.
Oh, it's unbelievable. There's this next door.
Next door is like the worst fucking platform on the planet.
But it's unbelievable. All I get is these notices. Did you notice that guy driving that car?
Yeah.
Did you see that person standing over there?
Yeah.
What happened to my cat? I mean, it's all about paranoia and
paranoia.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's developing all this paranoia. Now, speaking of paranoia, I want to get into this. Now, if I were to, during the 2020 election, after Biden won and after the votes were counted, if I put up an upside down flag outside of my house, what would that tell you?
You were unhappy with the election.
Okay. So now Ginny Thomas, the wife of Clarence Thomas.
How do we get to this? Isn't this old news? What is this?
No, this is not old news now, because now it turns out that she is sending the supportive emails to these groups that are against Supreme Court reform. Now, all they've done so far is to say that there's an ethics minimum that you need to follow. And a lot of people don't want them to follow it. And it's because of her husband, and Alito, and his wife was also a lunatic too. She sent an email to First Liberty Institute's Kelly Shackelford, which is a dude, Kelly, all right. And in that email, Shackelford attacked Justice Kagan for being treasonous and disloyal, and because she endorsed an enforcement mechanism for the court's newly adopted ethics code. Now, that ethics code came around because Clarence Thomas was taking free trips and taking free gifts worth millions of dollars.
Why wouldn't they want an ethics code?
Well, but that's my point. And then Ginny Thomas is sending an email to these people supporting their actions, saying that, they're trying to destroy the Supreme Court because they think the Supreme Court should operate in a vacuum and not be accountable or responsible to anybody.
Obviously that's insane. If they were if she was complaining about the idea that people want to pack the court or change the, that
I can understand.
Yeah,
that would be fair.
This seems like completely insane and illogical. I mean, ethics is the one thing that we need now more than ever. More than ever, we need people being accountable and honest, ethical, moral.
But why do you see the two most conservative members of the court, Alito and Thomas, being so against any sort of ethics reform, any sort of ethics code that they have to follow? Why is it that they think that they are above the law?
Okay, I would just say that they are a bad representation. In terms of being Supreme Court justices, they shouldn't have those behaviors. So they're not the most ideal, people to have on the Supreme Court. But neither are a bunch of the other ones who are, in some ways, have also done things that are extremely odd. And so the Supreme Court is a problem. But once you put somebody in there, you're stuck. That's why there should be better vetting. There's not really good vetting.
Well, it should be better vetting. Well, remember Clarence Thomas. I mean, the whole thing with putting pubic hair on the Coke can and whatnot, and they pushed him right through.
Yeah, it's just politics. It's the parties push through who they push through. And
now, what do you think about Biden? Biden's endorsed this Supreme Court reform that would have term limits, that would have a constitutional amendment reversing the court's recent immunity decision, and would also have a binding ethics code for all of the court's 9 members. Didn't talk about packing the court, didn't talk about changing anything. He's talking about, making it so there's some accountability. Okay, is that a bad thing?
The first one was what? The first
one was term limits.
Okay, term limits, I'm in favor of that. Having these people there forever was a nice idea, thinking that they'd be impartial because they wouldn't be affected by politics,
right?
But they have been affected by politics. So I'm in favor of that. What was the third one?
Wait, so how long should the term limit be then?
I don't know, maybe 8 or 12 years? 12 years?
12 years. Okay, 12 years I could go for. Second one was a constitutional amendment reversing the court's recent presidential immunity decision. Of course, that has to do with Trump.
I'm not convinced that that's the right thing to do yet. I'd like to explore that issue further about what sort of things are immunity. This thing came up out of nowhere, and we need more time to digest. Because look, should George Bush be tried now for creating a fake war, lying to the American people, and then going into Iraq saying they had weapons of mass destruction?
Yeah. You know what? I'll be the first one to say, yeah, because back then.
Okay, so then what about this immunity thing?
People knew it was a fake. No, but you know what? They did that based on lies. This goes back to you have to look at it on a case by case basis. If the person is lying, if the president is flat out lying, if he knows something is false, and Trump just recently admitted that he knew he lost the election, and Nick Fuentes, that crazy fucking right wing racist asshole, all of a sudden says, "Oh, Trump knew that it was that he lost," and so why were we doing this stop the steal?
Okay, I see what you're saying, but I think constitutional amendments are to some degree fanciful and just about never going to happen. But I'm concerned about that because I think that was a political thing to attack Trump, to take away his immunity.
And you know what? George W. Bush, honestly, I don't think was smart enough to know what was going on. It was Dick Cheney who actually.
Yeah. And look at Dick Cheney now.
Yeah, Dick Cheney now is endorsing Harris.
But why? Because he's decent, and Harris is decent. He's the guy who murdered a ton of Americans and foreigners.
Here's a guy that started a fake war, that lied about it, that profited from it, and now he's considered liberal by today's Republican Party. How the fuck did that happen?
The main thing is that the whole Bush group hates Trump, so they're not going to endorse a Republican if it's Trump.
They all, you know what? They all hate Trump. There's not a single sitting president or vice president in the Republican Party that is endorsing Trump, and that says a lot about the hold he has over the party. And you know what? When he loses, and I think he's going to lose, there's going to be a bloodbath in the Republican Party. It's going to be a civil war within the Republican Party.
Wow,
who controls it?
You used the word bloodbath. When Trump used that, they really eviscerated him. Everybody, get on this guy.
I'm not the president.
Oh, well, you should be though.
Okay, there we agree. There we absolutely agree. Okay, and then the final thing that you were asking about there says there's a binding ethics code for the courts.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that. I'm in favor of that for sure. I think but I also think there should be a binding ethics code for the president of the United States.
I agree.
And all the senators and congressmen and all these people who are making money with inside trading and all sorts of shit.
But why don't we hold Nancy Pelosi accountable for all the millions that she's made on her stock trades? Why don't we hold Trump accountable for releasing his tax returns like you're supposed to do? Why are we so afraid to hold people accountable? It's
because normally all these parties protect their own. Trump was an exception to the rule because they just hate him and are so scared of him, they got to get rid of him. But otherwise, they protect everybody's bullshit. Look at this guy, this guy Swalwell, who was dating the Chinese spy. And then what's her name? Feinstein had a Chinese spy driving her. And now there's a Chinese spy in the mayor's office in New York. I mean, this is crazy.
But here's what's the amazing thing. This guy Shackelford, who runs this organization that Ginny Thomas sent the email to. Listen to this. He says that prayer is the top of the list. It's the most important thing that people can do for a country. He said, this is a spiritual battle. So now you've got a president, the wife of a sitting Supreme Court justice who is agreeing with this guy that says this needs to be spiritual. This needs to be about religion. Well, whose religion? Are we going to play the Muslim prayers in the morning? Is that your religion? And it's like, what happened to the separation of church and state? And why is the wife of a Supreme Court justice even commenting and talking to these people?
Well, she's a loose cannon, and basically he should have shut her up a long time ago.
But why is that allowed? Why isn't anybody getting outraged over that?
Well, there's just so much to get outraged over. I mean, you don't have enough time in the day.
See, there should be an outrage news channel.
Whoa.
And you and I can be like the main anchors.
And people call in with their outrage.
People call in and they're
just the best outrage of the day.
Yeah, just outrage of the day. We just rant and rave for 24 hours.
Oh my gosh, let's do it. What are we doing?
Let's go to the whole ethics discussion again.
Okay.
In this Judge Cannon in Florida, the classified documents case, dismissed the case, said Jack Smith isn't.
He wasn't appropriately appointed.
So now Jack Smith has updated the indictment, has issued again. So they go to court over a hearing, and Trump's attorney says Clarence Thomas, quote, directed Judge Cannon and Trump's lawyers how to proceed with the case. Why do you have a Supreme Court justice getting involved in a state case and telling them how to run the case?
Well, isn't he doing as a personal friend? Isn't he giving him a legal advice?
But isn't that a conflict of interest? I mean, if I'm good friends with Bill Gates and Bill Gates tells me, hey, by the way, we have this thing coming out in 2 months, you should buy some stock. Well, he's just telling me that as a friend. Or is that insider trading?
Yeah, I think he should have. I think he blurred the line there. Yes, I agree with you. Clarence Thomas blurred the line. Yeah.
And how many times are we going to allow this to happen? I mean, do you think Clarence Thomas should be in any hearing where they're discussing immunity or anything about President Trump, former President Trump?
No, you're right. It's a conflict of interest.
It's a total conflict of interest.
Right.
And you know what? They're going to keep getting away with it because nobody says anything. It's so infuriating that our country has just gone down so much that you cannot trust anybody anymore. You cannot trust the word of anybody in office.
That's pretty close to being true. And you know what? I just want to tell you something. You need to pray more, man. You're really
hold on. I've got the prayers right here.
Hey, no, but seriously, I want to make a statement about prayer for a second. They were doing transcendental meditation studies in some city. I don't know. I don't know if it was China or some other place. On one day, they had like 100,000 people praying and doing this TM meditation. And according to this story, that when they did all the demographics like a year later, and they saw all the hospital admissions, all the traffic accidents, hospital admissions went down that day, traffic accidents went down that day, where accidents went down that day. It's amazing.
I absolutely believe it. I absolutely believe it.
Are you teasing me? Are you teasing me?
No, I believe, you know what? Because I think one of the problems, I mean, whether you believe in God or not, or regardless of what religion you believe in,
right.
I think most religions are pretty much the same, honestly. I think it gives you a foundation. It makes you think more about your inner self. It makes you think more about your fellow brother and sister, your neighbors.
Also, the through line through all these religions is the law of reciprocity of treat others as you wish to be treated.
And somehow we've lost that. I mean, you've seen churches, they're declining throughout America. Do you do transcendental meditation?
No, I did for a while, but I found it. I just found like repeating the mantra, just just a word that's sort of a nonsense word over and over and over. I kind of got annoyed with it, so I just found a different way to do it, to meditate. Yeah.
So what do you do? Because I've tried it in the past. I had a very good friend, Sid Field, who was world famous screenwriting teacher, wrote this the book Screen.
Yeah, sure.
And Sid was big into meditation and to Eastern philosophies and whatnot. And Sid was very good at meditating. And I'd say, Sid, how do you do it? And he said, you just have to let your mind go and let things go. I go, I can't do it. I can't sit quietly without having some thought come into my head about how fucked up something is, or I got to go do something, or, what's going to happen in the future.
It's very hard to screen out those all these thoughts and the ego thoughts and all sorts of thoughts. You're right. They come in there to distract and get you away from the point of which is, he's right, which is to try to like really empty your mind of all the nonsense, traffic that's going on, all the radio signals in your head, to try to really relax and shut them out. And so when they pop in, you've got to consciously go, get back to just trying to be quiet and not think of anything. It's a discipline that takes time and practice.
And kidding aside, maybe this is what they should be teaching in school, because it's not a religious thing. You just teach kids to meditate, because maybe if kids were a little calmer, were a little more quiet and a little more introspective, little Colty who goes and shoots up 4 people would have said, hey, Mom, you know what? I'm having these terrible thoughts about shooting up the school. What should I do? Or he goes to a teacher and says, Miss Johnson, I'm having these terrible thoughts and I don't know what to do. Maybe that's where it would start, that maybe these kids would get the help they need before they fucking blow their gasket.
Absolutely. Meditation is not some kind of new age, airy fairy thing. There's science behind it. It can help
Yeah.
lower blood pressure and heart rate. It reduces stress, it increases the immune system. You sleep better. You got more energy. It's really a positive thing to try to do. So you try to empty your mind, but other people do things like just listening to, focusing on their breathing. In and
Yeah.
out of the breathing. And if you focus on the breathing, then hopefully the intrusive thoughts don't come in. If they do come in, again, just try to focus on the breathing in, out, whatever. You have to try to focus on something that distracts you from the distracting thoughts.
They should also bring back home economics. They should bring back shop. They should bring back
Shop.
all these things that actually taught kids how to do things in life. Today's kids are such pussies and they don't know how to do anything. They don't know how to speak. They don't know how to write. They don't know how to add numbers. They don't know how to balance a checkbook. They don't know how to fix their car. They don't know how to do anything. Why can't we bring these things back? These are the fundamentals, the essentials, the foundation that kids grow up with that helps turn them into adults.
Yeah, absolutely. And how about also the civics lessons about the Constitution? Maybe some of these kids should learn what the Constitution is and the Bill of Rights.
Well, see, but that's the problem because now they're trying to politicize all that, saying, "Well, whose history is it, and why should we learn your history? That's a white history. That's a black history." And look, in all fairness, a lot of black history has been covered and that's not talked about, and it should be talked about more. But you can't just excuse basic history.
Yeah, but the fact is, I think that of all the governments that we've seen over many, many whatever centuries, democracy or whatever you want to call it seems to work. It's not working anymore because it's been perverted, by special interests and all. But to try to tear down the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is a huge mistake, and they're trying to do it.
I'm telling you, man, the Amish have figured it out. They mind their own business. They work the land and they procreate amongst themselves. And
Really?
they're totally,
Do they
they're totally
still
fine.
don't have internet, you think? They're not playing video games?
They don't have internet, but the funniest thing is that they build these fireplaces that they sell on the internet,
Shrewd.
which makes no sense. Okay, finally, I want to wrap up.
Okay.
Governor Newsom in California actually did not sign the bill that would have allowed for illegal aliens in California to access $150,000 interest-free loans to buy homes. Can you fucking believe it? And I'm telling you something, mark my word, if Harris becomes president, this bill is going to come back into play next year and he's going to sign it.
Wow. You think that's why he did this, just for the look, the optics?
It's for the look. No, he doesn't. I don't think he believes it. I don't think he gives a shit that California
I thought he got pressure
is in the red.
I thought he got pressure from some people and that there wasn't enough money in the budget, that he shouldn't be doing this kind of thing. No, huh?
Oh, I think that's what he used as an excuse. I think that's totally. I mean, how much does California do that we spend money for that we don't have the money for, that we shouldn't be doing?
Yeah, you're right. But and you're right in general, because what he's doing, your argument here that he's just doing this for the optics prior to the election, so she doesn't get a lot of flack. Well, that's what she's doing too, by reversing all her decisions that she made in all of her policies. And once she's in, she's going to do all this crap again.
Yeah.
So how could you vote for her?
I think because I think Trump is doing the same thing. I think Project 2025 is absolutely a game plan for Trump.
Look,
I don't think Trump will leave office. He will not want to leave office.
That's ridiculous.
And Trump is going to try to get his retarded sons in there. It's going to be Trump this, Trump that. Yeah, well, hold on. I need to meditate. Okay, so in California, so Newsom's done that. Now, Prop 33 would expand local government's authority to enact rent control. Now, what do you think about Prop 33? Should the government have more authority to enact rent control on people?
This is the government doing it, not the California
California government. Prop 30.
So they already have rent control, don't they?
Well, they have rent control, but what they enacted in 1995 was that if somebody leaves an apartment, then they can jack up the rent to market prices.
Okay.
But basically, this would roll that back and say, no, you can't even do that. If somebody leaves, you can't bring that rent up to market value. You got to follow whatever the local authority says you can do on rent control.
Okay, I'm against it. I mean, I'm against government in general, like interfering in people's lives for the most part.
Well, and what's the incentive for people to invest in real estate, to build new apartments, if you're going to be told, I can only charge this amount of money?
Yeah, absolutely. It goes totally against free market system.
Yeah.
You got an apartment you want to rent, you should be allowed to rent at whatever price you want. If people don't want to pay it, okay.
But you know what? This is why they pander towards people in California, because the majority of people who can't afford to live here are probably going to push this through, and it's going to fuck everybody who has investments here in California.
I'm not surprised because this is the fuck you state.
It is the fuck you state. It is the fuck you state. Now, finally, I want to end with Prop 34, which would limit how certain healthcare providers spend revenue from federal prescription drug program. Basically, it says that if you get money from a federal program, you have to spend 98% of it on actual healthcare for the patients.
Yeah.
Does that sound bad?
That makes sense to me.
Okay.
People because there's a conflict of interest too with if you get money from drug companies. So you really should be putting that money, I think, into healthcare.
But you know who's fighting it is AIDS Healthcare, the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. They bring in $2 billion a year. They spend over $300 million on political purposes, trying to push the rent controls and trying to keep so they can buy property and they can do their thing. And it's like, why aren't you spending the money on what you're supposed to, on your patients, on people who actually need it?
You're right. That's the thing with so many of these charities that I won't give money to anymore because 90% goes to administrative costs and 10% goes to the person who's starving. It's ridiculous.
Well, you made this point a couple months ago when we were talking about the hotel in Woodland Hills that was purchased as a homeless shelter. And you said somebody's making money. And that's exactly what it was, because those guys made $34 million. Nobody would have paid them $34 million for that property.
Right. And when they give free alcohol and free, hash pipes, etc., to people, someone's making money off of the alcohol and hash pipes.
Wait, Walter, where's that? Let's go line up. Free alcohol, free hash pipes.
What a deal. Yeah.
I'm there. Okay, finally, the debate is on Tuesday.
Yes.
What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I know that she's now getting acting lessons now, so that she knows how to act really normal, and that'll be great. Don't laugh. And actually think before you speak and put one word in front of another, and I don't know what the hell he's doing, but I don't think it's going to change for anything unless someone really screws up, unless she really gets embarrassed by him or vice versa. I think it's just going to be a wash.
I think that Trump is going to make a major misstep.
He could. He's so impulsive.
He's so impulsive, and I don't think he can. And you know what? I mean, when you look at him speak now, when he speaks for 2 hours, it's a mess. I mean, he cannot come up with a single sentence that is cohesive anymore.
Yeah, because he's tangential and circumstantial. He goes off on tangents and adds circumstantial stuff, and sometimes he doesn't come back to the point. That's a problem.
And now what he has said is that he's weaving together these things. He goes, my advisors tell me to talk about one thing, but then I want to talk about 9 other things. And then he says, and then I beautifully bring it back to the main point. No, you don't. You're just as fucking crazy as Joe Biden was when he was giving speeches at the end.
The problem is, I mean, if you watch any of the documentaries of this guy over the years, he has skirted so much bullshit forever and gotten away with so much stuff by doing his shenanigans and his verbal salad that he doesn't think he has a need to tone it down. But now, right now, this pivotal moment, he really should keep his mouth shut.
He's got to keep his mouth shut for that 90 minutes or 2 hours, whatever it is. Yeah. And you know what? If he can keep his mouth shut, he will come out victorious in that debate.
Could be. It'll be interesting.
All right, Walter. Well, we will pick this up next week. We'll talk about the debate.
Sounds good.
And we'll talk about a lot of other things to be outraged about. But before we go, Walter, Simsalabim.
Om Mani Padme
The great
Hum.
Karnak.
Om Mani Padme Hum.
We'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
I don't know what they have to say. It makes no difference anyway. Whatever it is, I'm against it. No matter what it is or who commenced it, I'm against it.